Hey guys, Dan Heilman back with another video. Today's going to be a quick one. We're just kind of reviewing what's going on. There seems to be a little bit of change in sentiment here. So if we're looking at the 4-hour chart here, you can see if we go back a little bit towards like January-ish, you can see the biggest candles on the 4-hour chart are red candles. You got a huge red candle here. 1218, you got a huge red candle here. 120, you got a huge red candle here. This means a lot of sell volume. And then you'll see once the price started dropping, obviously at the support levels here, you're going to see some big green candles, big green candles, big green candles, meaning a lot of buying. You can see we kind of had this double bottom here and we are continuing up. Now, another thing I mentioned yesterday is the moon phases. We have started the bull moon a couple hours ago and we will continue. I guess it's about 12 hours ago, about last night, we started the bull moon. And usually that means we're going to see a couple days of up. Again, it doesn't it's not 100%. Nothing in life is 100%. I don't even know why these are such a good predictor, right? But it does seem to be that way. Now, Ethereum is still looking very interesting and looking like it definitely wants to break out of here. So let's turn the moon phases back off, clean up the chart a little bit. If you go to the 1-hour chart, you can see we've broken out of here. Normally, we'll break out, it could be something like this where we kind of just go up a little bit, get rejected, and then come back down. However, this one was rejected at the 0.382. So that was kind of a significant level of support. So if we can get above this trend line, which we've been following for quite some time, if I zoom out, here you go. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see we've been following this trend line since January 30th. So right after inauguration, we've been following this very steep declining trend line. And you can see my buy signal is actually saying that we should be seeing a weekly low sometime in this area. All we're looking is for some confirmation, which means the price to go up a little bit. And then this will print one of these weekly low symbols and usually means we're going to see some large buying. Now, of course, this signal is only looking at, things like moving averages and price action, right? So, we had a lot of tariff stuff come in around this. So we could have seen maybe a massive pump from here, but then we started some tariffs and have been kind of going down since, right? If it's kind of interesting also though, but if I just zoom out a little bit, we actually retested the high from 2018, January of 2018, which is pretty insane, honestly. I can't believe we wicked all the way down to that high. You can see when we came down the first time in the last market, we just blasted right through it, right? So after 2021 bull market, we kind of just blasted right through it. We found some support down here, almost near this second top, but it was a little bit more in here. But it's just kind of interesting. And another interesting note is you can see we kind of did this before, right? So we came down here, we tested the bottom of this channel. We came out a little bit, we came back, we retested it a second time, and then we took off here for a nice 90% pump. Now, Ethereum is very important because, there's a lot of theories that once Ethereum starts moving, then a lot of the altcoins will start moving because as far as the risk curve goes, you have Bitcoin, which is the lowest risk of all the cryptos. And then you go down to Ethereum because of the market cap and then down, down, down. And the further down you go in market cap, the higher you're going to go in risk. So we're at the bottom of the bottom. I mean, if you're looking to invest now is probably a good time to do it. I have been snatching a lot of Ethereum down here between 1700 and 1400. I had a really big buy about 1450, a really big buy about 1700. So I'm thinking we're going to go up here for the next foreseeable future. A lot of people are saying that we maybe just need to wait for May 7th for maybe a possible rate cut. There was some stuff said by the Fed that, hey, the Fed's here to inject liquidity as needed. We could see some money printing starting. You have countries like China that are starting a lot of money printing right now. And as I mentioned in the last video, if you didn't see that one, Neo is kind of like the Chinese Ethereum. It's very similar. It's for smart contracts. So there was some very big buys in here, and the price of Neo was actually kind of insane. It was like holding his own against Bitcoin for quite some time. just recently here. So starting about April 2nd, you can see that NEO had, it could just be a counter trend rally for a little bit, but it made 50% gains against Bitcoin. Obviously, if I zoom out, it's going to look just absolutely horrible. I was a big investor in NEO back in the day in 2018-ish. So obviously, it's not looking very hot when you look at NEO Bitcoin this way, but it's just interesting to see a little bit of a pump here. When a lot of the market was dumping, it was doing quite well. Another interesting one is FET. Again, if I zoom out, FET versus Bitcoin, you can see it's pretty bad. But look at this. I mean, it's almost down to like these bear market lows in the 2022, which is kind of interesting, right? It's almost like we kind of retested these lows here. And if we see another run like this, I mean, look at this. That's a 700% run. So FET's an interesting one. I do have some leverage plays right now on FET. I don't even know if I can call them leverage because it's 1x leverage. It's been so risky in the market, so much up and down. I was like, I'm just going to hold 1x leverage. And the reason why I do that is because on Bitunix, link below if you want to try it out, I can put my spot on Bitunix and then I can take leverage out against my spot. But if I'm in 1x, that means I can't get liquidated, right? The price would literally have to go to 0 for me to get liquidated with 1x, right? So it's kind of interesting. I can prove that to you. If I go to take profit and I put, let's put the stop loss at 0.001, you can see I'm going to lose $700, which is how much I put in. So I literally can't get liquidated unless it goes to legit 0. So that's kind of interesting. That's why I've been doing it this way recently. And I have a lot of assets on this exchange. So I can trade a lot kind of for free. Obviously, I'm still increasing my risk, right? Because if the entire crypto market goes down and mine's going to go down doubly, right? Because I'm going to lose my assets going to go down and, these are also going to go down. But that's kind of what I've been doing lately. I have a couple, I've been doing some fart coin trading. I have $1,000 of realized profit and 400 right now. This one is not performing as well as it was recently, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you. If you want to check out Bitunix, link below. My FET trade is up 21%, which is pretty cool. And of course, it's like the smallest position I had, about 1,600 FET, but whatever, profits are profits. I'm just trying to be careful in this market right now because things are so uncertain. Obviously there's some chances that we're heading into a recession, or maybe we're coming out of a recession, honestly. Because if we go to stuff like the SOM rule indicator, you'll see the last time that this triggered was in 2024, about June-ish, right? So here's the SOM rule trigger, and that was 2024. So kind of interesting. Triggered in 2020. Let's see, I think it was about July. When did SOM rule trigger last? It was, you're not just going to give me the answer. August 2024. Okay, I thought it was July. Yeah, so August 2024. And Claudia, the girl who invented it, was like, oh, she kind of explained it away, which was kind of a little bit weird, a little bit interesting. But, recessions are easy to spot, hindsight. But going forward, they're not so easy, right? Because a lot of the metrics for recessions are lagging indicators, right? So you're looking at the changes in inflation and unemployment are kind of the two main ones for recession triggers. So that's interesting. I don't know, maybe we're kind of coming out of a recession. Now, if you look at the same thing that triggered in other markets, in 2017, et cetera, it was kind of the same thing. You're coming out of a recession, and then while you're in the recession, you start the money printing, and that kind of helps you get out of the recession. So I think we're seeing that kind of globally. The tariff stuff has kind of maybe accelerated what was already happening, but I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next year or so. If I zoom out and just look at the price of Bitcoin over the last X amount of time here, you can see that we're clearly still in an uptrend that has not changed. If we started breaking down below this and get down here, then obviously I'm thinking we're not in an uptrend anymore. But still, everything from my point of view, my base case, what I'm planning on is that we're still going to see, is this not on logarithmic anymore? There we go. Let's do log. Let's do that. Okay, here we go. So if we follow like a log chart, for example, you can see that I'm still kind of expecting us to get up in here and hit about 218,000. Now, if we get a lot of full scale adoption, You can see we're actually kind of below the midpoint curve right now, but this doesn't really act like resistance or anything because I drew this manually myself to kind of just point where the middle of the market is. But you can see we're kind of, I don't know, a little bit oversold, and potentially we could be coming up here. Again, I'm predicting like October, but this is just based on these same windows that I've used before. You can see that the timing is pretty similar between the halving and the peak, the halving and the peak, the halving and the peak. So this estimates a peak about October. Could be later because, you know, this 4-year cycle was also very well timed with the monetary cycles, recession, money printing, etc. And you do see down here, we do have an indicator that indicates that we should be buying. You also see, if you look at the risk metric up here, that we're kind of bottoming, almost double bottoming on the risk metric. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I'm still very bullish. I'm still accumulating. You know, in my opinion, I'm investing money that I'm okay with losing, and my worst case scenario is, I don't know, maybe I have to hold this another 4 years and wait for the next top because, you know, maybe this top is stunted because of, you know, the tariff stuff and all of that going on. So I don't know. I'm continuing to buy as we go down. Maybe in hindsight, it'll look like a stupid move, but I don't think so. You know, it is what it is. I'm still, I think, about even, maybe a little bit below even, because I did a lot of investing last year, started in March and basically was buying all the way down. Unfortunately, altcoins have just been getting smashed. And, you know, that's usually probably just because of the amount of liquidity and, you know, risk right now. A lot of people are very uncertain, so they're pulling out of high risky assets. So we'll see what happens, but that's just my quick update for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. That's gonna be it for the video. Leave a comment below. What are you guys picking up? And if you want to try leverage trading, feel free to do that. I have BTCC. I already showed you my trades on Bitunix. If you want to trade crypto, I recommend Bitunix. If you want to trade like stocks and stuff, I recommend actually BTCC. It's pretty cool. You can trade, like, I have an MSTR trade. I have a CLSK, which is a Bitcoin mining stock that's up 13% as of when it closed. Coinbase, I have a big trade open I'm down on, and Mara. So these are kind of unfortunate. My Mara trade, I was up 200%, and then I got stopped out after. So I should have taken some profits, didn't. But if you want to try either of these, I got links below. It gives you a nice discount on your fees, and there's a bunch of first-time deposit bonuses. That's it. Have a great day. See you guys.